Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Pro Radio Show. I'm your host, Amber Arms, and we have with us today Steve Cummings from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Alrighty. Hey, Steve. Welcome to the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure having you on today. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you about?
Okay, yeah. Well, previous life was an accountant in healthcare finance for several years, a long time. I love the outdoors. I'm a big hunter. Love deer hunting, turkey hunting, two favorite seasons of the year. I like doing home improvements around the house. Always kind of tinkered with, kind of take after my dad in that respect. But also a big Eagles fan, so love Eagles football.
Ah, yes, I remember watching the Super Bowl this past year. It was a very close one. I'm just happy that we got there and got representation because it's been a while since we made it, but definitely keeping the hype up for the next time, and hopefully next year will go even better.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
So then how did you get into real estate? How'd you get your start?
Well, always been kind of interested, I guess, really, but really what kind of piqued my interest was my father-in-law used to invest in the city of Harrisburg. He would buy and renovate homes and then rent them out. He recruited me to help do the renovations, and I would help him out in his spare time. That piqued my interest. And then several years ago, when my mother-in-law passed, my wife and I had to sell her home. And through that process, afterwards, my wife was saying that, maybe you should get your real estate license and, do it part-time. And I kept putting it off and saying, and finally broke down and she said, go ahead and do it. So I did it, and 4 years ago, got my license and was doing it part-time. And that didn't last long. And in a short time, it turned into something full-time. So I kind of retired from healthcare finance and now doing this full-time for 3 years or so. So
That's amazing. So you said it's been about 3 years. What do you think is your favorite part of it so far?
I like dealing with people, always have. But, being able to help them out and seeing the joy that it brings when they get that house or, they're able to sell their house and move to the new one, just makes me feel good. And I like helping people, and that's one way to do it. And if I can use my negotiation and finance skills to do that, it's kind of a plus for me. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's fantastic, actually. Let me do some quick math here. 3 years ago would have been around 2020, 2019-ish, I guess, depending on what time of year it was. Was that
I started out in 2019. Yeah. Obviously starting out in 2019, it was slow being, just breaking into things. And then through the pandemic, the timing was terrible for that. Things had started to pick up for me, and then we were shut down here for a while. But then when they opened us back up, it picked up pretty good for me, and I had a good year last year. Was top 16% worldwide for Coldwell Banker. So
nice.
It's been good.
Congratulations.
And rewarding.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's tough to get started in that type of market, but there is something to be said that, basically learning how to deal with all of those, difficult situations on the front end means that everything else after that just becomes all that much easier because you've already been through the tough part of the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It was tough.
But in the end, worth it, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So, because now you're doing it, full time and you're happy with it. And I say that's worth the try then.
Yeah, definitely.
So then, it's difficult to really guess at this point because it feels like so many things are in flux. But, what do you think we're looking at for a market for 2023? You think we're going to continue on the trend that we have been, or are we going to take a different course?
Well, what I've seen here in our market is a bit of a slowdown. Yeah, and part of it is kind of fitting with economists and what they're saying. I'm not an economist, but they're saying that there's going to be a slowdown, and we're seeing that here. And hopefully that picks up. But the inventory is low, which is adding to that. But inventory is just forecast to start increasing here through the year, even though moderately, but it's still going to be tight, I think.
Yeah, the percentage is definitely high right now to be able to get a loan, but obviously it's still possible for people who absolutely have to, but anybody who is maybe on the edge is probably considering waiting until the rates go back down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of had to raise them because our inventory was getting so low that the just general market was getting really out of balance in a lot of places, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely did really good at artificially stimulating it for 2021, and now we're just kind of trying to come out of the withdrawals from that, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and it'll be a slow process to do that, but I think the next couple of years will get us back.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that in a couple of years we'll be back to a similar state to we were pre-pandemic, and we'll be in a lot healthier state, because inventory is, I'd say, the biggest issue that I've heard so far that's difficult to fix, because it's not like you can't build houses overnight. They're not going to just show up. And you're looking at 9 months minimum, assuming that there isn't any sort of labor shortage or material supply issues of getting things to be able to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
So, while those things are still factors, it kind of elongates the process of being able to restore some of that inventory as well. So I can definitely see it taking a little bit of time to get us back to where we were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
I agree.
we did come out of a pandemic, so I'd say that the fact that we're doing as well as we are is already kind of a blessing. So, silver lining and all that.
Yeah. If the inventory comes back and the interest rates, go down, like yesterday it took a nice dive, but those things will help. But
definitely.
time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. Definitely. Well, what would you say is the biggest obstacle you've seen people have trying to break into the market right now? Is it just the interest rates, or is there other factors too?
I'd say it's the interest rates as well as the inventory. That plays into it too. And I think the other thing is competition. We're still, at least here, we're still seeing multiple offers on most properties. In fact, I put 4 offers in the last week, and every one of them we've had multiple offers on. So that's still going on. And
right.
Frustrating for some buyers, especially first timers.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's buying a house and going through that process is arduous enough when you don't have to place offers on, sometimes I heard 15, 20 houses to be able to get something where you're going to get under contract.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some pretty crazy stories I heard, particularly for the 2021 market, as far as being able to find something and getting it locked down.
Yeah. 2021 was crazy. So
it was a different beast, that was for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's one of the important things, though, is that, if particularly when it comes to real estate, it's such a complicated, experience-based industry. So having somebody that does this all the time to be able to guide you through it, I think, is a lot more important than people realize. As we go through all of these market shifts and things where, the ideal situation has changed, or you just need to adapt to a different type of negotiation style, I think it's important to have somebody that's actively watching the market and noticing these trends, so that it does, even though it's still going to take 15 to 20 offers, that's still better than maybe them having to do 30 to 50 on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They need that person to help guide them, and that's what we do.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about it, because you said before it's all about helping people. That's literally the entire real estate industry. Every subsection of it that I've talked to and that I've been able to communicate with, it's always been about helping people and guiding them so that when they're making this super big investment, that they're making it with all the information on the table so that they can make a well-educated and informed decision with everything available and at their fingertips.
Yeah. And, that's, like you're saying, it's a service industry, but I look at it a little bit more. That, we're out there to basically help people make that decision. And, this is probably the biggest, if not one of the biggest decisions they'll make financially in their life.
Yep.
And, making that dream happen for them and helping them make those decisions and giving them the information to do so is the whole key to the thing.
Yeah, it's life-changing. That's what it is. It's definitely, by definition, life-changing for most people. That makes a huge impact. It's definitely worth it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by We Insure Center of Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. With access to over 200 carriers, We Insure is ready to service all of your insurance needs for home, auto, business, life, and more. Simply call 484-207-6640. Again, that's 484-207-6640, or visit WeInsureCenter.com. Get your free quote today. So then what would you say, because you mentioned the first home buyers, what would you say is the biggest misconception people may have when they walk in the door?
Well, I think a lot of people think, okay, it's like TV shows. You see they're on a TV show and boom, they bought the house, in no time flat. But it's definitely not like that. It's a process, and a lot of hard work goes into it. Media outlets are kind of saying the doom and gloom of real estate is coming, but that's not the case. It's a stable market, continuing to grow, but it's a lot that goes into it, and I don't think everybody realizes that. So
it is a complex industry, to say the least. There's so much information that even experienced people, they're constantly learning new things about it, new types of houses. Just the amount of information that you can learn about different types of houses and the different types of assets and features that they have already is a super big value piece, because somebody could be thinking that they're getting high-end countertops, and that in actuality they're getting like this imitation laminate. Just being able to know stuff like that as well, so that the client knows exactly what they're investing and that what they're buying is actually worth what they're paying for it.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're building, staying on top of those things, that's important, and so a realtor can help you do that. So
yeah. Well, I have a question for you. I'm very curious. What would you say is the favorite client that you've helped throughout the time that you've been as a real estate agent? If you had to pick one, what would be your favorite one that you were involved in?
Oh boy, that's tough.
A
couple. I would say probably the first couple I sold to, Sarah and Charles. They, and I still am friends with them and talk with them, on occasion. We looked at I don't know how many houses, and it took close to a year till they found the house they wanted. And we lost some, like everybody else, lost on some bids, but we kept at it, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So it was a fun time with them, and through that process, being somewhat new, helped me learn a lot. So they were
fond memories.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's wonderful. And I think it's always good to have a good mindset with real estate, since you are learning everything. And I think that it says something of your character that one of your favorites is the first one, right? Because you're learning how to better help people. And, some people look at that as, what they don't know yet. I look at that and say, okay, they're learning new things so that they can help me better, right? Everybody has to start from somewhere. Even like the big experts that have been in the industry for 30, 40, sometimes even 50 years, they all started somewhere. And most of those people had that same hunger that they wanted to learn how the industry works and how it ticks, and that they can know all of these like little tricks and everything. And I think that it's good that we find people that are passionate about it. There's a lot of people that are just in it for the paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's to me more than the paycheck.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, learning, but it's something that's always changing. The industry's changing, so you have to change what you're doing and learn how to do that. So
even just from a technology standpoint, the amount that it's changed in the past 20 years from, how it used to be to how it is today. Even just how a house is listed or how you can find it online and how many places you can find it and how you go about lining up appraisals and comparing one house to the other. It's just completely revolutionized multiple times over in such a short amount of time. And it's only going to continue, changing as we get more and more technology that is minutely specialized for that activity and being able to make it as efficient as possible.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The technology is the biggest change, I think. If you think about it, realtors, 20 years ago, real estate agents held all the data and controlled everything within the data and information on the home. Now everything you can find online, and people can educate themselves about a property and get ideas of what they want instead of going several homes before they even decide what kind of home they want. It's totally different.
Oh, definitely. Just the impact of the internet and being able to look up different, housing materials too. I just feel like in general, people's knowledge of housing has essentially almost doubled or tripled in the amount of time that, since the internet was really started to become in major use, just because the average education level of that buyer as far as houses go is at a different level than what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. And as agents, we don't have to carry around books and multi-list.
No more hardbound books, no more binders. I used to hear about how people would carry binders around with the listings. And I'm like, wow, that's so crazy. Just 20, 30 years ago, this is what we were doing.
I know that's what my wife and I did, when we bought our first house. Our agent came and went through the book and said, I'll take, looked at it overnight and I'll get it from you tomorrow. You're going through and you've got one picture of a house, you're going through. So,
you get one picture and it's slower. And, my mom's actually also an agent, so I've helped her before. And just us going through the MLS to look at appraisals and looking at old listings, even if you go back to as early as 2006 or 2007, some of them listings on there only have, one or two pictures even then. Just the whole idea of having multiple pictures and virtual tours and 3D videos that you can do to walk through them, like all of that stuff is super brand new in the grand scheme of things.
Definitely, yeah. And people are using it. Why not? So.
Yeah, as technology grows, I guess the amount of ability that we'll be able to help grows too, because as you become more efficient, you'll be able to make everything transition smoother. And I feel like that's been a good direction overall for the industry.
Yeah, definitely. Agree. Yeah.
Definitely.
It's easier and better working with someone who knows what they want, and that's helped everybody be able to do that. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. And then, what would you say is the biggest factor that somebody should be looking for in an agent? Like if they have never bought a house before, they don't know the process, they don't know what they should look for. If they're trying to find an agent to be able to help walk them through the process, what should they be looking out for? What's indicators of them being a good person to work with?
Okay. Yeah. Well, first I would advocate, looking for someone that is a realtor as opposed to a real estate agent. There is a difference. As realtors, as a realtor, we have a code of ethics and guidelines that we're sworn to follow and uphold. And that's why we go through the process of, registering and paying to be a realtor. And, that brings the best service to our clients. So in that respect, people should be looking for someone who is, able to researches the market and knows the market. And someone that they can feel comfortable with sitting down and talking to and disclosing things about, to try and come to that decision. It's like we said, one of the biggest financial moves a person may make, and they need to feel comfortable and have somebody they feel comfortable in giving them that data and that decision.
So major trust factor, I'd say, is definitely a good one. Major trust factor, and making sure that they have, solid ethics. With the realtor versus real estate agent, I'd never heard that before. I didn't even know there was a difference. So that's really interesting to me that there is one, actually. So definitely going to put that on the list. If once I'm ready to get my own house, I'm definitely going to have to put that on the list as well.
I'd help you out, refer you to somebody down that way.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to let you know once I start looking. That would be very interesting. I know that it's going to be tough in the next year or so, just because it's a crazy market right now, and I know a lot of people are kind of in that same boat where they either pushed really hard to get through it in 2021, or now they're kind of riding it out because the interest rates are so high. It's definitely one of those things that I think it's going to take a couple years to equalize out. But once we get there, it's going to be a good place for people. It'll be a lot healthier than what it has been for the past couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. It'll come back more like a normal market.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting as well to see how much technology changes that as well. I'm sure you've heard about it because it's been very prevalent in the news with all the AI stuff and how it's revolutionizing how pretty much everything is done just across the board. It'll be really fascinating to see how it impacts real estate, because I don't think it's really kind of had much of a hit yet, at least from what I've heard. But it'll be interesting to see how people decide to apply that to real estate and how useful it'll be.
Yeah, time will tell. And I haven't seen much here in that respect in our market yet, but, I know it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. A couple years, and I'm sure it's going to be fairly prevalent. It's one of those things that it's kind of not something that I think can really be stopped anymore at this point. We kind of let the cat out of the bag now. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of wonders how it will affect things.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, Steve, it's been wonderful having you on the show. If someone wanted to reach out to contact you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, a couple ways. My cell phone is probably about the best. It would be 717-215-5215. Or my email is stevecummingsrealtor@gmail.com. So I can also be found on Facebook. They can IM me through that. So
lovely. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on today. It was a pleasure talking to you and learning about you, and I'm very excited to see what will come. And again, congratulations on being top 16%. I hope that you have just as much success this coming year as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. So
yeah, definitely. Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Talk to you soon.